We are all born with a light. The light encompasses our goodness and everything we really are. It encompasses everything we're capable of being, all of our creativity, and is tied into all of our senses. So what happens to the light? Better yet, how do we find our way back to the light? We're born with 5 senses, the strongest of which is our sight. But we live in a very image-dominated world. Images that are illusions. An illusion is something done with the intent to deceive. We're so bombarded with these illusions and these images that we learn to trust strictly our vision. The side effect is that it dulls down our other senses. We need all 5 senses to perceive the world around us. We need all 5 senses in balance to perceive the world around us. But because we rely so heavily on our vision, it dulls our other senses. And when it dulls those senses, it dulls our light. Because when we lose our senses, we lose our sensibility. And when we lose our sensibility, we lose our civility. So when our light is dim, it's hard for us to focus. In many cases, because of the images, they affect our self-esteem, our self-worth. It makes us question our existence. Am I making the right choices in life? Have I saved enough? Did I eat too much? Did I eat too little? It's always something. Why? Because the machine knows to buy and sell. It creates the images just for that purpose. Today, I'm going to share with you a little journey that I experienced, and along the way, the things that I discovered that brought me back to some of my senses. I was a caretaker for my mother who had breast cancer for over 3 years, during which time I was overwhelmed. Anybody could understand that. We all get overwhelmed from time to time. And during that time, when you're dealing with those type of things, you're overwhelmed by your fear. Many speakers today spoke about fear, but I learned something different. There's 2 kinds of fear. There's a natural fear, which is just your fight or flight reflex. It was given to us at birth. It's to give us the courage to face a situation or give us the adrenaline to run away from the situation. And then there's another fear. This fear is dictated by images and illusions. And that's the fear that we have to isolate and put in check, because that fear is the fear that overwhelms us, not the natural fear that's a part of our ability to survive. So during this time of taking care of my mother, I had to deal with that fear. And there was many days that I was overwhelmed. I learned how to be still and to shut out all the things outside of me. That was easy. The next thing was to learn how to shut off all the things that was going on in my mind. And I'm sure you all can relate to that. It's very difficult to still your mind, because your mind is just like a computer. It's putting things in places. It's processing images that you've taken in during the course of your day. But during that time, during those quiet hours of learning how to still my mind, some very powerful things happened to me. When I first started to take care of my mother, I went and bought a baby monitor. I got this baby monitor because I wanted to know whenever she needed me, I wanted to be able to hear it. I wanted to be able to get up and respond. That quickly became the wrong idea, because every single time I heard that monitor, up the stairs I went. It almost drove me crazy, so I threw it out the window. Over a period of days, I noticed something happen. All of my senses and my sense receptors became very sharp. I got what you call mama sense. I call it mama sense. You ladies know it. You know something's going on with your child long before that child says anything. It's just something you feel and hear. People call it a gut instinct. It's intuitive. And I learned to trust it. I knew when she needed water. I knew when she needed me to change her. I knew when she was sick. I knew when she was running a temperature. I knew it all because I could feel it through all of my receptors. I wasn't relying on my vision. I was relying on all of my senses in balance. So I became very in tune to my senses. After I became in tune to these senses, I had another experience. While driving down the street one Christmas, it was pretty warm outside, weather was nice. It's kind of unusual for that time of year, but I noticed in front of me what looked like ants. In a haze, it was small children, and they were going across a busy intersection. It was two older boys followed by a smaller child who couldn't be any more than 5. His feet could barely touch the ground. He was trying to steady himself and follow the other boys across the busy intersection. And when I drove by them, I looked in my rearview mirror and I saw them coming back across the same busy street. And I started to scream, "Why don't someone do anything?" I pounded the steering wheel as hard as I could. I said, "Why don't someone do something?" My mind was racing so fast, trying to find the answer, that I wasn't listening. And then it came to me, why don't you? So I stopped. I turned the car away, back the way I came, back the way I saw the little boys. I turned on the street that I saw them go on. The first thing I noticed, there was a man shining his car. I thought to myself, surely he had to see those boys. But it was pretty obvious he was preoccupied with something more important. When I caught up with him, I rolled down the window and I talked to the oldest boy and I said, "Where do you live?" in a stern voice. He said, "Mister, is we in trouble?" I said, "Yeah, you in trouble. Show me where you live." So I followed them home. When I pulled in the driveway, they stopped at the mailbox. They were afraid. It was obvious they knew they were in trouble. When I pulled up to the house, it was like something off television. There was cars sitting on blocks. In front of the house, the door was hanging off the hinges. You could hear dogs barking in the background. It was kind of a really surreal experience. When I got out of the car, it was exactly 13 steps from my car to the front door. As I walked to that door, and I could feel every step, I could feel my heartbeat through my chest. The intellect and the fear kicked in and said, "Man, this is not your business. You can be killed." And that was true. I didn't get up that morning to be a hero. But I stilled myself at the front door of that house. And I said these words, "Lord, you have brought me to this place. And if today is the day that you should take my life, and if my life is the price for these little boys, then I'm ready to go. I'm ready to pay the price." And with that, I knocked on the door. The door opened slowly to the face of a young mother. I said, "Ma'am, I don't know you, and you don't know me. But your little boys are out in the street in a busy intersection, and they're going to get killed." At that point, she broke down, and she started to thank me, and she just rushed the boys inside of the house. She closed the door behind her, and I walked to my car. And when I got in the car, I was driving down the street, and I was thinking to myself, wow, I trusted my senses. I trusted my instinct. Sometimes we have to get out of our own way so that good things can happen. Sometimes we got to learn how to listen. With my mother, I learned to tune into my senses. With the little boys, I learned to trust them. And brought me to my last experience. I was out running errands one day in the middle of the day. And on the way to the store, an elderly lady pulled up and she just kept screaming, "Hey, I know you." I said, "Where do you know me from?" "Mister, I know you." So I just stopped and waited, and she got out of the car. She walked up to me and she said, I know you. You've been in my store before. I waited on you and your wife." I said, "No, ma'am, I'm not married." No, I'm sure I know you." And it was like she was searching her mind to remember where she knew me from. I started to think, there's no way I would not recognize such a sweet little old lady. And I said, "Okay, ma'am, how you feeling?" It was clear to me that she just wanted attention. And she said, "Son," and at that point, it was like the weight of the world went down on her shoulders. And she bowed her head. She said, "Son, I have cancer and I'm dying." It was like someone hit me in the stomach and took my breath away. I caught myself, and I just opened up my arms. She fell in my arms, and I held her 2 or 3 minutes. And then we walked in the store together, just like long-lost friends, and we talked, laughed. When I walked away from the store, all I could think to myself was, wow, what a precious gift for someone whose time is fading to take the time to share those few minutes with me. Who was I to deserve that? But I was very thankful. I don't know if I made her day, but I know she made mine. Because in that instant, what was the most important thing to me is that people matter. We all matter. But we have to get in tune with our senses. We have to learn to trust them. And in that instant with the young lady, with the elderly lady, I had to learn to walk in it, own it and accept it, that that's who I was, a human being, experiencing the life of another human being. And that's what we're here to do. We're all born with the light. It encompasses our goodness. It encompasses everything we are. We just have to learn to trust it. We have to learn to feel it, trust it, and walk in it. Stay in the light. Thank you.